the Brain Profits Podcast. Are you ready for the show? We are, so let's go. Welcome back to another episode of the Brain Profits. I'm Douglas Mapp, cognitive development professional, and I'm here with my partners. Philippe, what's going on, man?
Going on? How are you? I'm Dr. Philippe Dion. I'm a board-certified neurologist. I am the author of the book, Neuroplasticity, Your Brain's Superpower, the author of the ebook, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, and the creator and instructor of the online course, Take Charge of Your Brain. And we've got with us Mrs. Stacy Busby.
Yeah, Stacy Busby, executive coach, but Philippe, you left off. Eye mask wearer, thanks to Amber Shaw.
That's right.
Better sleeper, sexier man because he's higher energized.
Well, I don't know about that last part, but you know. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna send you the photo of this.
Oh yeah, dude, the one you sent me.
Hey,
I love it.
well, welcome back,
love
Amber. This is part 2 of our conversation with Miss Amber Shaw. Anyways,
transformational coach.
Yeah.
I mean, guru. Fitness and nutritional expert extraordinaire.
I love it.
She's got a whole bunch of titles.
I know. One of the things I know she was probably thinking is like, what's the difference between Philippe's ebook and his other book? Like, why do you guys say ebook? And can it just be a book?
Yeah, but one is just digital.
So the other one's not digital at all?
Well, yeah, but there's also the hard format, the print
You see
format.
what I'm saying? See, Amber Shaw was thinking of it too.
See,
guys.
listen.
See what happened?
We have moments in this show, Amber, where we just ignore Doug.
I love
Because we
it.
often have to
No, he
reel him
doesn't
back in.
He doesn't
You know.
like when we put this truth out there in the
Listen.
street sometimes.
I love
It's
it.
all good. It's all
The
good.
last time we had you on, Amber, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was the fact that we live in a society now where everybody's about the quick fix, pills and surgeries.
Mhm.
And I often tell Doug, you don't need that BBL, Doug. Just do some squats. Squats.
That's hilarious. That's great. Wow.
I love it.
Didn't see that one coming out. You got me good on that one.
You did.
Anyways, well, Amber, let's talk about business. So I'm sure you probably work with a lot of working moms, or just working women, period, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, what are the pressures or stresses that you're seeing come up more often in the workforce or for them in the workplace?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is a huge one just because, I'm obviously a busy working mom too, and I feel it too. And I think one of the biggest stressors is just the pressure to like be all places at one time and do all of the things. I always joke, and I'm sorry, I apologize, but I don't really apologize. Men, for the most part, all y'all do is go to work. That's it. You go to work, you come home. That's it. Okay. At least that's how it was in my last marriage, right?
Okay.
I used to say to my ex-husband, like, all you do is go to work. That's it. You go to work. But in most situations, this is actually a common dynamic that I actually see. This may not be the truth for y'all. Okay. But, and not all male listeners here, but what I will say that this is a very common dynamic that comes up, which is seriously the women. It used to be, I feel like women used to have a certain role of like the caretaker and, the mom and taking care of the house. And now present day, I think it's morphed to where more women are in the workforce. So women are not trading responsibilities. They're just adding on. So it's moms now are responsible for being the mom extraordinaire, for, managing the house, and a lot of dynamics like managing the finances. A lot of women are taking that role on. Now they're responsible for actually going to work. And so I think that that's why we have an entire culture of just exhausted and burnt out women and moms.
Well, I'm going to say this in defense of men, Celine Dion, Little Mo, Gladys Knight, Alicia Keys all wrote songs titled Superwoman. So, we were just conditioned to be like, oh, I guess, okay, well, you're a Superwoman. I guess you can do all that stuff. I'm just throwing that out there. The condition was set.
Is that right? That's right. No, I mean, it's, yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, I think so. Yeah. I think this is where, I feel very passionate about this because, to be honest with you, I think that this was a huge, huge part in the end of my marriage and where we really kind of fell apart. It's just, it's a lot of pressure on women, I think, when it comes to the workplace and still, especially moms having to just kind of balance it all now.
So I completely agree with you. I think women take on a tremendous amount of responsibility, much more traditionally than men do, right? Because yes, women are graduating college at higher rates than men. Women are in every industry and surpassing men and getting these big titles, running businesses, but they still are taking care of the children at home, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is where somebody like you is so instrumental, because you are teaching women that first and foremost, they have to take care of themselves before they can do everything that they do for everybody else. Right? I mean, the reality is, if they're not taking care of themselves, then they end up seeing somebody like me in an emergency situation, right? With like a stroke or some mental health issues or some other medical issues. And so I think that what you do is tremendously impactful, because you are teaching women that you need to prioritize yourself first and foremost.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think even it's kind of a twofold thing. I talk a lot about the physical, right? Like the dangers of just physically not taking care of your body, but then also and not even your body, but the whole, all of it, mind, body, spirit, all of it, right? Like women need to prioritize just their overall, wellness, but also, and I experienced this firsthand, it's also just the dangers of like what happens mentally, right? I talked to so many women who become resentful, right? You become resentful. You wake up one day and let's say you're 50 years old and you're pissed because you're not happy in your body. You're not happy with your, not only the way that you look, but you're just not happy with the way you feel about yourself. And you become resentful because you've been pouring out to everybody else and everything else and not yourself. And so I think that, we have to really, as I was saying before, is really like look at the bigger picture here, not get such tunnel vision and really look at, our life as a whole and where we want to be 30 years from now, not where we want to just be tomorrow.
Now, I'm not a woman. I am a 43-year-old man. And I just posted a picture of just one of the ways that you have changed my life. It's in the chat. So I don't know if you guys can open that up just to see.
I looked at it just now. You look super bougie. I'm like,
that's what I told him. He's like, I don't look sexy. I was like, no, you do. You look great. I was like, what? Yes. I'm like, it looks awesome.
I need to post that on Instagram and see if my DMs blow up.
I think so.
That's
a lady catcher right there. I'm going to tell you what. Like,
they're gonna be like, that dude is lazy. He does nothing, including not go to work. He just sticks to the tire mask all day long.
That's hilarious. Now you're living the good life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So
I couldn't help but wonder as you were talking there, Amber, about that prioritized piece of it. You were talking about, you or Philippe was talking about, we're in business, we're entrepreneurs, we're the numbers of us going to college, all of those things. And then when you look on the other end of success with it, we dominate as far as females being the highest gender in entrepreneurship, but those holding the success, the money, it flips. It's males that are keeping the doors open, that are keeping it running. And I couldn't help but wonder if part of this, if that's how we're helping create our reality, is by splitting ourselves and not making requests to be able to prioritize what we really want to be creating in our life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I absolutely. And I love that you say, creating our reality. I love that so much because I think it absolutely forces us to take ownership and accountability of our lives. I mean, so much we always, I think, not only as women, but as men too. I mean, I think just as, as humans, it's very easy to blame others for our situations. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, we do create our own reality. That is a hard fact. So yeah, I would agree with you for sure.
So what did you do before starting your business? And what has starting a business been like for you?
Yeah. So I was actually in corporate sales for 18 years. I had a very, very successful career. I made multiple six figures and I literally worked about 2 hours a day. I mean, it was like, I could do it in my sleep. But I've always had this feeling that I was just really meant for so much more. So I was selling commercial printing and it was interesting to me. It was fine. But like at the end of the day, like selling, like printing, that did not light me up. Okay. I love the people interaction and I love that I made good money and it was easy and allowed me to have a really flexible lifestyle, which is really necessary. Especially becoming a new mom and all of that, but it did not light me up. And so I really kind of the turning point for me was when I was getting ready to turn 40 and I was going through a really difficult season in my marriage, as I've spoken about. And I was really just looking at all areas of my life of how I wanted to change and how could I pivot to live my next 40 years differently. And the job was a big piece of it. Right. And so it also, I think going back to that kind of like turning pain into purpose, I really wanted to figure out how could I take all the years of therapy that I've done, all the work that I've done on myself, how could I share that with others? How could I use my experiences to share with others? And so that's really how I landed on becoming a coach and kind of going into this line of work. So the second question was, wait, what was my most, or what have I learned about starting, or what was the second question?
What has it been like for you to start your own business?
Oh Lord, it depends on the day. It depends on the dang day. Some days I'm like, what did I do? Why did I quit my last job where I barely worked and made decent money?
When you told that story, I was like, a couple hours a day. Amber, you should have kept that job and started your side business. like a couple hours a day making six figures. I should have been your business coach at that time. I would have told you. Work 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in that printing sales business. You got the rest of the day, girl, to do what you want.
You know what it was though for me? So I did start the coaching as like a side hustle. That's actually how I went into it. And I held on to my other job for quite some time. But I am not the person that does anything halfway. Okay. Like nothing in life do I do halfway. I am like all or nothing. That's also another source of a lot of my therapy, but that's a whole other episode. Okay. So I am super intense. And so I got to this point though, with the coaching. And I'm a spiritual person too. And I do believe in God. And I felt that God had really shown me that this is where I was supposed to be. And that I was really burnt out because I was working really, really long days trying to manage both, because just energetically being like ping ponging back and forth between the two constantly, I was just not able to show up the way that I wanted to in the coaching business. I mean, I was doing it because I wouldn't give up, but I was killing myself. And so I'll never forget, I had a conversation with my brother over the holidays. This was before I decided to like leave the printing job for good. And my brother's like, what are you afraid of? He's like, you can always go back to sales. Like that it's always going to be there. Really. God's shown you that this is where you're supposed to be. Pay attention to the signs. Look how much success you've had in such a short amount of time. This is where you're supposed to be. And I just really took that leap of faith. And I was like, okay, well, which was scary. I mean, it was scary. I was freshly out of divorce, right? Where my ex-husband was really like, even though I made really good money, I mean, he was a very successful lawyer. And so it was very scary for me to just like completely walk away from a very lucrative and cush job. But I just trusted. I had a lot of faith and I was strategic about it too, right? Like if anyone's listening and they're like, I've been thinking about, doing something similar. Don't get me wrong. You have to have a plan, right? You got to be strategic about it. But I do think that there comes a point where you just have to jump off that cliff. It's scary, but I think that you got to just do it. You're never going to feel 100% sure that this is the right move. When you're in a situation like mine, and like where you've got a very cush job, you just gotta go. You just gotta jump off and do it.
I want to ask this question of you, is you talk about lifestyle and kind of the way you kind of kind of giving at least me the sense of how you think, is that you're probably not that big on hacks, are you?
No, like quick fixes, hacks, all of that. No, like, this is, that is when I was like blamed the diet culture and why like so many people are so screwed up, when it comes to nutrition and all of that. No, what I always say is that, we have way overcomplicated nutrition. We have way overcomplicated. And the real truth is, and, it doesn't, and maybe my approach to teaching women how to lose weight isn't as sexy as somebody else who's like, we got to count all the macros and count the calories and you can't eat this and you can't eat this and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't have to be that complicated, really. If you seriously were to just reduce the amount of stuff you eat in a box or a package, and when you go to the store, you shop the perimeter aisles and you just work on getting more real food, and you stay pretty consistent, not perfect, but pretty consistent with that most of the time, over time, you're going to get results. The problem is that we don't want to operate like that. We're impatient. We want results now. We want to, do these crazy hacks. We want to take this pill. We want to go on this diet where we're losing 20 pounds in 30 days. And this is what keeps people stuck in this, this vicious cycle about, losing, gaining, all of that. And if they would just stop all that and say, you know what, I'm going to give it 6 months. I'm going to give it 6 months or a year. I'm going to take my time with this. I'm going to learn to enjoy food again. I'm going to eat healthy foods that actually satisfy me. I'm going to let go of this idea that there's good food and there's bad food. Look, you're grown. You're grown folk. You can eat whatever you want, right? Like, you don't stop trying to look at, really look, I said, be so restrictive. Look at food as good food, bad. You can have some of that food. You can, but just remember, this is a lifestyle. This is a process. This is not a, go in and do that quick fix, do these hacks and all of that. So yeah, no, I'm an anti-hacker.
Right.
So when you say, when you first said you're an anti-hacker, my first thought was like, damn, she just killed my career because all of medicine is a hack.
Man,
no. When I say hacking, though, there's obviously like, you could say the word hack in different ways, right? Like we talk about like biohacking and hacking. When I'm talking about hacks, like I'm talking about the woman that's like watches, the video on, like taking something like apple cider vinegar and thinks that all of her weight loss goals are going to like come, all of it's going to happen. And what I say about that kind of stuff is I'm like, listen, are there benefits to apple cider vinegar? Yes, there are, right? But if that's something though, that number one, there's no quick fixes. Like that's not going to like solve all your issues here, right? But if that's something that like is hard for you to do, or like it tastes disgusting to you, or like whatever it is, like don't do it. Focus on the things that actually are going to matter. Like how about you just get some more greens into your day, right? Like stop looking at these like hacks or these things and thinking it's the answer. Go back to the basics. Really, it's probably the stuff you learned about nutrition in the 5th grade.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we overcomplicate health in general, right? Because the reality is, if you're eating healthy and like you say, get more fruits, get more vegetables in, stay on the outside aisles of the supermarket, get your exercise in, get your sleep. So get that eye mask that you told me to get, minimize your stress, get some sun. Half of us doctors and nurses would be out of jobs.
Absolutely.
But yet, there is a shortage that's only expected to get worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Amber, could you speak to the effects on the brain, comparing diet life to lifestyle of nutrition, caring for self? We've talked about mindset, but the brain function, the ability to focus, the ability to be productive. Can you talk about what you've experienced as a difference, or even what research-wise on what's happening with our brain?
Sure. I mean, one of the biggest things that I see, in especially working with women over 40 is that most women over 40, and again, I go back to blaming the diet culture, most women over 40 way under eat. This is actually a huge, huge problem for women. And just the cognitive effects on under eating and the amount of stress that it puts on the body. You know, we've definitely, I think, been forced into this whole way of thinking. And I always blame like the bicep bobs of the world, right? These are these coaches that just want to shove down your throat. Weight loss is just calories in, calories out. And like, it's like, yes, bicep bob, that is a piece of the puzzle here, but you're like leaving out a whole other huge part of this, right? Which is, you know, you can continue to reduce the amount of calories you're eating to the point of no return, to where you are, you know, barely eating anything at all. Your metabolism is actually slowing down. Hormonally, you are putting so much stress on the body. And actually, you know, obviously Dr. Philippe can speak to this even more, but yeah, I mean, this is where this, and just even cognitively, you know, one of the, and Philippe and I actually talked about this on my podcast too, is that, you know, I think the statistics are, it was over 2/3 of Alzheimer's patients are actually women. And a very, very small percentage of that actually has anything to do with genetics. It is about lifestyle. So I know, you know, Philippe and I were talking about how it has so much to do with like, you know, the way that women are not taking care of themselves and with their nutrition, with their, you know, their stress, with their sleep. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think nutrition, and particularly when it comes to the under eating part of it, that has huge effects on the brain that really just fly under the radar, that we don't really want to talk about at all. Again, it's so outwardly focused, you know, women in particular. I think when it comes to you know, diet, nutrition, all that, it's so outwardly focused, but we really need to pay attention to what's going on, you know, the catastrophic, you know, effects that this is having on the inside, in particular on our brains, for sure.
And I really love how you just brought up the Alzheimer's conversation that you and I had. It reminds me of a patient I saw, a woman who came in pretty healthy, and she said to me, you know, I'm just here so you can do the genetic test to see if I'm at risk for developing Alzheimer's. And I said, okay. I was like, but if it comes back and shows that you're at risk, how is that going to change your life right now? Like, what are you going to do? Right? And she was like, well, can't you give me a pill? I was like, no, I can't give you a pill. Right? I'm like, you're supposed to be eating healthy. You're supposed to be exercising. You're supposed to be getting enough sleep. You're supposed to be doing these things anyway. So the genetic test is irrelevant, right? But we've convinced people like, oh no, get the testing or do whatever. It's like, you're supposed to be living a healthy life anyway. Whether the test tells you this or that, it doesn't really matter, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a huge one. And I think that, you know, what I always tell my women is, look, like, you know, again, you know, particularly speaking to women over 40, I think that when we're in our 20s and 30s, the tendency is to be a lot more outwardly focused, right, on the way that we look and the way that, you know, all of that. But I think as we're aging, we are no longer in a position where we can afford to look at things like that, right? Like, you know, this is why we know so many, you know, people that over 40 that are getting sick. I mean, and that are, you know, fighting different diseases and inflammation in the body and all of that. And so we're just no longer in a position where we can continue to look at food as just calories in and calories out. That mentality is why so many people, men and women, are sick. So yeah, I feel really strongly about looking at even just like kind of diet and nutrition from a holistic standpoint, the brain included.
Yeah.
Amber, for all of us that have daughters or young women that we are mentoring, young girls, I am also in my mind thinking about the generational impact that is going to be created from this, and that the next generation of 20-year-olds won't be realizing when they're 40 something how much damage they've been doing up until now. I love it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It's so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I hear too when I, you know, coach women. One of my big places that I like to start with them before we get into the nutrition and all of that is really starting with the mindset piece of it, is really understanding your why. Why do you want to lose weight? Why is that your motivation? And when we drill down to it, a lot of women who have daughters are like, I don't want my daughters to make the same mistakes I did. I don't want them to grow up this way. I want to be a better role model for them. And I think there's a really a big movement to change that for these, younger women. So yes, I agree. I love that.
Taking it back to the workplace to some degree, I think about, some of the things that have started to pop back up since COVID. And that's getting back into the banquets space, right? Where the nonprofits are hosting different benefits, or just even award ceremonies that sometimes happen after, these companies do well. And so I know that you have a little black dress boot camp. And I think about some of the professional women that, when they want to go to these awards and look their best to, put on that, the fancy dresses, at least I think that's what they're trying to do. Or some of them are doing at least. What's the little black dress boot camp about?
Yeah. So the Little Black Dress Boot Camp is really kind of a snapshot or a taste of like really just getting what getting more real food into your diet can look like. Now, over the 7 days, because you're reducing a lot of the processed and packaged foods, is that going to decrease your bloat? Will you probably lose a few pounds of water weight that's going to help you get into that dress that you want to look great for? Absolutely. But I am very, very upfront and very clear. This is not a 7-day crash diet. This is not a, I'm going to, drink just, what is that, like cayenne pepper and lemonade, maple syrup.
Or cucumbers and lemons.
Yeah, whatever. Like that's not what this is. This is really, I think, because I really think that the first step in sustainable fat loss is really just getting more real food in, right? Like we keep talking about reducing stuff in a box or a package. So this is just a really, some people like to have kind of like a 7-day meal plan already mapped out for them. It takes the guesswork out. So this is just 7 days of whole food eating, really designed to detoxify the body. Even though your body does do a lot of natural detoxifying, you don't need to do these crazy juice cleanses. But there is a detoxification process that naturally happens when you start to reduce sugar in your diet, when you start to reduce a lot of like the saturated fats in your diet and all of that, like your body does start to respond. And so, yeah, over the 7 days, it really is kind of a kickstart, to your goals. But what I will say, and again, I want to be crystal clear on this. If you lose any weight over the 7 days, right, maybe 2-3 pounds, you did not lose 2-3 pounds of body fat. Does not work that way. You're going to lose the 2-3 pounds. It's going to be water weight. And if you go back to after those 7 days, just eating garbage again, because let's say your event was over, well, all that weight's going to come right back. And here's the thing. All that weight's actually going to probably come back the next morning after your event, because I imagine you went to the event, you had, maybe you had some alcohol, maybe you had some other food, that water weight's going to come back. Okay. So just people need to be really, really clear. And I'm clear on this too. When you do these types of programs, like I said, it can be a great way to kind of kickstart you, lose that water weight, get your energy up, help with your cravings, help you to sleep better. But it is just a snapshot of what getting more real food is. And you cannot stop there. That's just to jumpstart you into your lifestyle, your new lifestyle of eating more real food.
Right. Yeah. You maybe think about you saying it that way, especially the drinking alcohol part of the event. Made me think of something that Philippe talks about sometimes, which is the what's it called, resveratrol that's in red wine. So one of the interesting facts that I only know if we even say it is that you have to drink tons, maybe gallons of wine to get the proper amount of resveratrol in order to actually become a health benefit to you. So for those of you who think that you'll switch over to red wine for that night, it'll be a healthy benefit. It's not going to probably do much.
Yeah, and you just need to have some fruits and vegetables, and you get more than enough of it. So
absolutely, I know, Philip, we talked about that on our on my show as well, and it is so true. And it's like it's one of the the marketing, the alcohol industry. I mean, that's like a whole other episode for a whole other day. But the alcohol industry, I mean, the way that it has just romanticized alcohol and the way that it takes these studies and just twists it. It's crazy. It's crazy how they get away with it. And I mean, again, like I'm not trying to go on a rant here, but it's just like there's no other like drug in the world that is able to get away with the marketing that alcohol does. I mean, because alcohol is a drug. It's crazy to me. But yeah, not to get into conspiracy theories and big dollars and all that. But I'm like, it is crazy though. It's crazy.
Listen, you may not want to get into a rant. I have no problem getting into a rant when it comes to alcohol, because I deal with patients who have alcohol issues all the time. It is the worst poison that you can put into your body. And just in society, it's associated with pretty much every crime, every accident, every house fire, every accidental drowning, right? There is. So I don't, but the marketing is amazing, right? Because it's literally like they've convinced us you should have alcohol for brunch. You should have alcohol after work. You should have alcohol when you're sad. You should have alcohol when you're happy and celebrate. It's like for everything that you should have alcohol.
I know, it's crazy. And like every time I'm always fascinated reading different books by, women who have, quit alcohol and teaching other women how to quit alcohol. And it's just like, it is so true. And when you stop and think about it, it's like, if you were to replace alcohol with like anything else, meaning like think about those marketing commercials and all of that, and like insert cocaine into it, or insert, heroin, or like any of these, like people would be appalled, right? That you're suggesting like any of it, or even like for a lot of people, like even like marijuana, right? Like people would be appalled that we're talking about marijuana. It's like, I mean, you're better off smoking marijuana than you are having the, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You're right.
I mean, people, I always find it really interesting, right? Just from a social standpoint, people always talk about like roofies as a date rape drug. Number one date rape drug is alcohol. Like, what are we talking about?
Right.
Who's got their hands on roofies? Like, rarely anybody has their hands on roofies. Like,
right. It's true.
Yeah. So like, it's craziness, but the marketing is genius.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It is. Yeah. It's nuts. So
I thank Bernays for that one. Well, as we come to the end of the show, we want to ask this last question, or at least I want to ask this last question, and it's going to be this. This highlights you as a differentiator most of the time. At least I think it does. But for you, I'm going to ask. Here it goes. So, what one thing about what you do, right, or advice that you give, or in the way that you coach people, do you give out, or in what you're doing, the expertise that you're giving? What's that one thing that seems that nobody else is saying or agrees with you with?
Okay. Well, I think, and I don't know that necessarily everybody doesn't. I will say this. I think that in my space in particular, when it comes to weight loss, right? I think that really my core message is it is really about being consistent most of the time over time. And it's about releasing the perfection and releasing that diet mentality. And I think that goes against the grain of the way a lot of coaches in my space teach, right? They want to, tell you that the answer for fat loss is in, the counting and the weighing and the measuring of your food. And I'm not saying that you can't get results from that, right? I'm not saying that. I'm not denying it. There are plenty of, successful macro coaches and all of that. However, that is not sustainable. That is not sustainable for most people for real life. So I think that, you have to ask yourself, is this going to create a lifestyle for me that I want to live for the rest of my life? And I think that can be, getting your head around just being more consistent and not making things so confusing can be a little like unsexy for people, because they're like, I don't know. It's just, I'm so used to being so restrictive and cutting out whole food groups and getting results fast and all of that. And it's like, yeah, great. But is that sustainable? And why? And is this why you keep staying stuck? Is this why you keep coming back and doing multiple diets at a time? And if you would just let all that go and just be consistent most of the time over time, you will get results that stick. And you will enjoy your life again. You will enjoy food again. Like you will be free from all of the pain that I think dieting causes, particularly women. So yes, that's what I would say.
As you were talking and answering that, and you said it the way you said it, I thought that, you know what? The only person I know that's stuck with Weight Watchers for the really long time is Oprah. And that's probably because she's getting paid.
Right, exactly.
First of all, and Oprah definitely has had moments where she's not on it as consistently.
Yeah, but she's still in commercials.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, no, I love that. That's such a great question. Thank you for asking that.
No problem. Hey, well, tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, I would love to hear from you. Head over to my Instagram, MS Amber Shaw, Miss Amber Shaw. Send me a DM, introduce yourself. I'd love to hear if anything we spoke about today resonated with you. And then you can also find me on TikTok. I'm definitely on there doing some educational videos, sometimes dancing a little bit. You never know, all the things. So I would love for you to head over there. I'm MS Amber Shaw over there too. So
Amber Shaw teaching people how to do some breakdancing on TikTok.
Okay. Look, I'm from Daytona. You remember, I'm from Daytona Beach.
That's right. Yeah.
So I got it in me.
Oh, yeah. I used to be in Cocoa Beach for several years, so I know exactly where you're at.
Okay. I love it. All
right. Well, thanks for coming on to the show. Everybody, you've been listening to another episode of The Brain Profits. Thank you for listening. You'll see all of Amber's information in the show description or the show notes. Leave a comment. Let your friends know what we're doing over here at The Brain Profits. Hopefully we helped you elevate how you think, or at least the want to think better and improve your cognitive function skill today. All right. Well, until next time, it was fun.
Yeah, this has been fun. I want to give you a high five, Amber.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
See you guys later. Yeah.
Right. See you guys.
Bye.
Amber, that was awesome. Thank you so much.